Every 4 years, Bitcoin does something no other money in history has ever done. It cuts its own production in half, on a fixed schedule, automatically, with no CEO, no committee, and no vote. In April 2024, the reward for mining a block dropped from 6.25 Bitcoin to 3.125. The next cut arrives around April 2028. This event is called the halving, and it is the single most important date on the Bitcoin calendar. Miners prepare for it, traders obsess over it. Entire bull markets have been built around it, but most explanations of the halving are incomplete. So this video gives you the full picture: what it is, why it exists, and what it has actually done every single time. To understand the halving, you first need to know where Bitcoin comes from. There is no central bank printing Bitcoin. New coins are minted by mining. Miners run powerful computers that race to solve a mathematical puzzle. It is called proof of work. The winner earns the right to add a new block to the ledger, a permanent page of transactions, and the network pays them in freshly created Bitcoin. The protocol targets one new block every 10 minutes. If computers get faster, the difficulty adjusts, so the 10-minute rhythm never breaks. Every single block carries a reward called the block subsidy, and that subsidy is the only way new Bitcoin are ever born. Now here is the rule that makes Bitcoin different from every paper currency in history. That subsidy is programmed to shrink. Why would anyone design a money that deliberately produces less over time? Because scarcity is the source of value. If something can be printed without limit, its purchasing power erodes. If its supply is capped, it tends to hold value. Satoshi Nakamoto wrote the rule into Bitcoin's earliest code. The block subsidy halves every 210,000 blocks. At launch in 2009, each block created 50 Bitcoin. Left alone, that supply would have exploded. The halving is the counterweight. It forces new supply to slow down, again and again, until it approaches zero. Think of it like a gold mine that gets harder to dig every 4 years. Except the schedule is public, mathematical, and impossible to cheat. That predictable scarcity is the entire point. The price cycles, the hype, the fear, all of it is just the market reacting to that one design choice. To see why this matters, compare Bitcoin with ordinary money. Government currencies can be printed without limit. Between early 2020 and early 2022, the broad U.S. money supply, called M2, grew by roughly 40%, according to Federal Reserve data. Bitcoin has the opposite design. Its supply is capped at 21 million coins, and over 20 million already exist today. Once the cap is reached, probably around the year 2140, no new Bitcoin will ever be created. Not one Satoshi. But the halving does something even more subtle. It shrinks the new supply as a percentage of everything that already exists. Today, newly minted Bitcoin add less than 1% to the total supply each year. After the 2028 halving, that will fall to roughly 0.5%. Bitcoin is already one of the scarcest assets on Earth, and it becomes scarcer with every single halving. Gold once played this role. Its supply grows only a few percent per year because it has to be dug out of the ground. Bitcoin is often called digital gold because it fixes the two weaknesses of the real thing. Gold is heavy, hard to divide, and hard to verify. Bitcoin is pure information. It splits into 100 million units, is verifiable by anyone, and travels anywhere in minutes. But the deepest difference is the supply schedule. Gold finds new deposits by accident. Bitcoin's supply is known to the exact coin, decades in advance. Every miner on Earth knows that in 2028 the reward drops again, and again in 2032, until the final Bitcoin is mined around the year 2140. No central bank, no government, and no billionaire can change that schedule. It is enforced by every node on the network, in code, permanently. Here is the full schedule, and it is worth memorizing. At launch, 50 Bitcoin per block. November 2012, 25. July 2016, 12.5. May 2020, 6.25. April 2024, 3.125. And the next halving, due around April 2028, 1.5625 Bitcoin per block. Each halving arrives at block number 210,000, then 420,000, then 630,000, roughly every 4 years. As the subsidy shrinks towards zero, transaction fees take over. Bitcoin's security will be paid for by its users, not by newly printed coins. That curve, steep at first and then flattening forever at 21 million, is the entire economic design of Bitcoin drawn in one picture. And remember the number from Chapter 4. Over 20 million of those 21 million coins already exist. The remaining scarcity is now a story of distribution, not discovery. Now for the question everyone actually asks: what does the halving do to the price? The honest answer is that nobody knows for sure. But history gives us 4 clean data points. After the 2012 halving, Bitcoin traded around $12. Within a year, it passed $1,000. After the 2016 halving, around $650. It climbed to nearly $20,000 by December 2017. After the 2020 halving, around $8,600, it rose to almost $69,000 in November 2021. And after the 2024 halving, near $63,000, it crossed $100,000 for the first time in December 2024. Same pattern 4 times. An event nobody can cheat, followed by a long climb. Each rally was smaller in percentage terms, but the pattern has never broken. One warning: the halving does not mechanically cause rallies. It changes supply and market's price in expectations. The 2022 bear market still dragged Bitcoin down more than 70% from its peak. The halving is not a free ticket. It is a structural shift in scarcity. So what should a normal person take from all of this? First, understand what you own. Bitcoin is a fixed supply asset in an inflating world, and the halving is the mechanism that keeps the supply fixed. Second, never buy on hype around the date itself. The biggest moves in history came months after each halving, and the weeks before it are often noisy and unpredictable. Third, think in 4-year cycles, not days. The people who did well saved through entire halving cycles instead of trading the news. Fourth, only invest what you can afford to lose. Bitcoin has crashed by more than 70% before, and it will crash again. And finally, remember what the halving really proves. Bitcoin's rules do not bend for anyone. The supply schedule was written in 2009, and it has never been changed, not even once. The money is digital. The clock is mathematical, and in 2028 it will strike again.